ميسي هرب، ميسي انطلق، ميسي راح، ميسي دخل، ميسي مازال، ليو مازال، ليو دخل منطقة العمليات، ليو خرج، ليو مازال، ليو دخل، ليو مازال، ليو.
All right, you really don't need to know Arabic to understand what the commentator was saying there. But, well, just for clarity's sake, he was going on and on and on about the Messi run in which he left Guardiola of Croatia. Ab kya hi bataya, like Rahul Pandey, my co-host here, and I were discussing on chat. एक ही move में वो 16 second में Messi just destroyed a harsh word, a strong word, but yeah, for effect's sake, he perhaps destroyed Guardiola's transfer value, all the talks of him being the find of the tournament, and अंत में दिखाई दिया कि boss genius होता है, prodigy. We might sound harsh on Guardiola, but that's what it is, and that was the goal which sealed Argentina's place in the World Cup final, where they will take on France on Sunday night. So here we are, 63 matches later, 62 because the 63rd match will be played on Saturday night. But, well, it's Messi versus Mbappe in the final. Should we say Messi versus Griezmann? Well, take your pick. But, yeah, we are here to talk for the next 20 minutes on how the hell did just Argentina turn around everything after the defeat to Saudi Arabia in their first game. And is it just about Messi, or Argentina are much more than that? Julian Alvarez surely seems to be making a case for that. Then we have France, and well, after all the injured players, 13 or so of them, how the hell did they reach the final? Is Mbappe their main guy, or is Griezmann? And will Sunday's outcome decide Messi's legacy? It's a packed menu today for us, Rahul Pandey. Shuruat, I think, fittingly, Messi se karni chahiye because this World Cup is about him.
It seems like it. Quite the romantic tale, and I must say, there have been very few instances, right, the football itna romantic sound kiya hai. You look at his record in World Cup knockouts, he never scored a World Cup knockout goal leading into this tournament. And now he scored in the round of 16, he scored in the quarterfinal, he scored in the semi-final. He has probably is harsh to say because, of course, he has had now the best assist of this tournament. It's just had, I think, one of those La Liga 1 month kind of a time period at the World Cup, which he has done so often in his career. In La Liga, he used to give us a moment or two every weekday. And that's what he has done in the Argentina shirt, which is why they're really excited about this team's prospect going into Sunday. He has himself said in the press conference post the semi-final that he doesn't see playing the 2026 World Cup, which is fair and I think really smart because you would want to bow out at your peak. Regardless of the result on Sunday, I think the way he has just brought Argentina together, which was something encapsulated really well by one of the Argentina reporters post the semi-final. There was this heartwarming chat where she told Messi how every single kid around Argentina has a shirt with more so his number on the back than anyone else's. So I think, just this coming together of a country which is perhaps not going through one of their smoothest times. There's inflation is at an all-time high in Argentina right now. We must not forget that. And the scenes in Buenos Aires, in Rosario, straight after that semi-final, and the scenes that have continued even till, yesterday, and I think will continue till Argentina walk onto the field in the final and maybe even after. It's just something to watch how his effect in this last dance has been on Argentina. I've heard, and I think this is correct, that there's a documentary crew following him right now in Qatar for his own personal documentary. And I think that's a film we've all got to watch because of his story at this World Cup, because of what this tournament has meant to him. He's won literally everything there has to be won. He won the Copa America with Argentina last year, then went on to win 35 match winning streak alongside this team. Came into this World Cup, lost against Saudi Arabia in the first match. And then it looked like, it's going to be the usual Argentina with Messi's story at the World Cup. And then this turnaround, I think there's a lot of catharsis at place. And I think it's all going to end in tears one way or another come Sunday.
You mentioned the documentary makers. I really wasn't aware of that. And I guess the cynic in me kind of says ki shayad this is the reason why Messi also lost his cool in a very cute way, because he really didn't go all ape shit crazy. But well, he the Bobo rant, right, after the Netherlands match. And that is very uncharacteristic Messi. But on field, Rahul, you mentioned the assist, right, against Croatia. And I seriously am split. At some level, I don't think that's his best assist because the pass that he played in the previous match, the one that he split the Netherlands defense with Virgil van Dijk in front of him and just threading the ball so neatly to Montiel, I think that assist was another level. But then that's the thing with Messi. आप उसके highlights reel अगर जो देखोगे, not just about this World Cup but career, but अगर जो especially last 2 weeks, then everything that he's done seems that, oh, this is the best thing anyone has ever done on the football field. And that's quite incredible. But Rahul, just from the opening match defeat to now being one game away from winning the World Cup, what did Argentina do right?
I think there are a lot of things that came into fruition towards that semi-final win against Croatia. But first and foremost, I think we have to mention how players who haven't been a big part of that 35-match winning streak have stepped up. You know, that was a very different team for Lionel Scaloni, in which Lautaro Martinez was this person that Lionel Messi relied upon in terms of scoring when he wasn't able to. And Angel Di Maria has had his customary tournament injury at this World Cup, hasn't been fit to play. Of course, hasn't cashed in on his one brilliant goal that he scores at every tournament, so that's something to look for. But in absence of these players, Paulo Dybala got to play only in that knockout match against Croatia, has been on the bench for most of the tournament. In their absence, I think the players who have stepped up, the names that have stepped up, we saw in the Mexico match, the goal from Enzo Fernandez was another brilliant strike. It was obviously less talked about because of the goal that Messi scored, but I think in equal measures, it was just brilliant to score. Meant a lot to Argentina to lift them up going into that Poland match next up. Of course, what followed later from McAllister was brilliant to watch. He's just been this person who has connected the midfield and the attacking players so well. He's been part of that link-up play beautifully, dare I say. And him stepping up alongside Julian Alvarez, who is a Manchester City player, wasn't known to many of the football fans before this tournament, I'm sure. But the way he has proved out to be both on wings as well as in the central channel has been just brilliant to watch. I mean, you give him the ball in those forward positions and he has had the confidence to just go at it and not rather look for Messi, which has been characteristics of a lot of Argentina forwards in the last couple of World Cups. So to look out for their talismanic player at times was something that Argentina did more than they did not in the 2014-2018 World Cup. But now that he plays a little more deeper, they don't have that luxury most of the times. So I think, Alvarez's confidence has been brilliant for them. If we talk about the back line, despite him not being at his peak, Nicolas Otamendi did show good signs of resilience and just good signs of being comfortable off the ball, which is something Argentina didn't look in the round of 16 and in the quarterfinal match against Australia and Netherlands respectively. We have to say they've taken that 2-0 lead in every single game they've played, barring that Saudi Arabia match. And they've looked uncomfortable in the Australia match as well as in the Netherlands game. So I think the defense has been good going into the final. I think that's one positive they'll take. Lisandro Martinez is, of course, someone they can count on. He has been by far their best defender in this tournament, even though he hasn't played that much compared to someone like Nicolas Otamendi. And of course, we have to mention one of the many Martinezes in this team, in Emi Martinez, who has been just rock solid at the back. I think his save against Australia really opened him up in this tournament towards the end. The save he made, which could have been 2-2, but wasn't, really opened him up. And then going into the penalty shootout against Netherlands, he just was ready to save it all. I mean, that stretch to stop that Van Dijk penalty, that won't be as talked about as maybe the goals that Argentina have scored at this tournament, but it was equally pivotal for them to win that shootout and hence go into the final.
Absolutely. And clearly, like Argentina, of course, Messi is their focal point and everything they do is centered around Messi, but they just aren't about them. I mean, the support cast on field has been quite incredible. And it's also what makes me really interested in this final is their opponents, France, whom we'll talk about for a bit now. It's very similar because, of course, everything that France have done, the focus has been on Mbappe and his incredible speed and finishing techniques and all the things that come with it. But they have been so much more than just Mbappe. I mean, Griezmann is, like I was listening to some other pod and they were discussing as well, कि पिछले 10 साल उसके career के he's just playing in the wrong position. It just seems like that he's just fit in so well in the midfielder role. He's been by far, I think, along with Messi, I think whoever wins the final on Sunday, either it will be Griezmann or Messi being named as the player of the tournament, in my opinion, one of them. And there are so many others, like for example, अगर जो हम बात करें Thursday की उनकी मैच की, Thursday India time, the semi-final which they won against Morocco, just the kind of contributions. I mean, I would have never really imagined that someone like Theo Hernandez would be on the scoring sheet for France, but then again, he's continuing a tradition of sorts of French defenders scoring in the semi-finals. It was Lilian Thuram in 1998 against Croatia. Samuel Umtiti did that in 2018. So in a way, it was kind of fitting that Hernandez carried on that tradition. But Rahul, France, I really didn't have them reaching the final of this World Cup before the tournament started. In fact, I'll be very honest. I had thought, and I had also played one of those predictors in which, for me, France were out in the group stage just because of the number of injuries they had. Totally surprised me.
Oh man, they have surprised so many, because even me in that predictor match just couldn't think beyond the absence of Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante. They were just the engines of this midfield. France were also missing someone like a Karim Benzema, Christian Nkunku in that forward line. Just spectacular players who would have made this all-star team clear-cut favorites. But then they looked really average in the midfield on paper, at least before the tournament started. Everyone was asking questions. Okay, who's going to be the ticker of this team? Who's going to provide them with the chances to take? Who's going to spread through the ball for someone like an Olivier Giroud or Kylian Mbappe or Ousmane Dembele? And then steps up the most unlikeliest of choices, Antoine Griezmann, as you mentioned. Played on the wings for most of his career, played as a number 9. And now he has barely any shots registered from the box, the opposition box. I think it's also worth noting that Griezmann also didn't have a good build-up to this World Cup. There was a lot of tension when it came to his contract. Barcelona didn't want to give him away without taking the whole money. Atletico Madrid didn't want to give the money for him as much Barcelona was asking. And then when he was finally brought by Atletico Madrid, their season hasn't been the best. It's been far from their best under Diego Simeone. I think for a player to step up then at the biggest stage of the tournament in a role he's not used to at all as a creator is just spectacular. And I agree with you, if France win, he has to be their player of the tournament. But then not just him. I think in the forward line, Olivier Giroud, what a time for go-kart enthusiasts. F1, again, not at the peak of their game, not at the World Cup at all. I think go-kart enthusiasts will just say, it's good to be not that fast. It's good to be vintage, and it's good to probably win 2 World Cups in a row, which Karim Benzema won't have a chance to, because I don't think he'll be playing at the 2026 World Cup. So that'll be something.
It will be. And and it's just that France are a strange team. Matlab, agar jo hum compare kare, it's also incredible. I mean, it's worth mentioning here that this is their 4th World Cup final in 24 years. 98, 2006, 2018, and now it's in all 4 campaigns. I can say with certain that this is the least talented, least stylish team France have. I mean, they really have done just enough to reach the final. They have kind of कोई एस्थेटिक्स की पड़ी नहीं है, उन्होंने कोई फिक्र नहीं की कि कैसे जीत रहा है, as long as the wins are coming. And to be honest, credit must go to Didier Deschamps for the way he's managed this squad. I mean, you mentioned Kante not being there in the squad, and to fill that gap, he's got Griezmann in, and Paul Pogba came up with this weird nickname for Griezmann, calling him Griezmann Kante. And I think in a way it also is fitting. But yeah, just these little things that Didier Deschamps has done. And I mean, of course, all of us want Messi to lift that trophy. But, well, I really wouldn't bet against France right now. But just to kind of conclude this whole thing, will Messi be kind of remembered for winning or losing this World Cup final? I mean, he'll end up, if Argentina don't win, it will be the second time Messi will have failed in the final. 2 finals gone. This whole Messi-Maradona comparison that goes on forever. if Messi ends up without a World Cup, will it define his legacy? I'm split always on that question. He's done a lot for the sport. What do you think, Rahul?
It's a bit unfair in ways because we're talking about an individual title or an individual accolade, the greatest of all time, in a team sport. And then we're trying to assess it by the number of team titles that an individual has, which I don't think is the most fair assessment of it. I personally don't think greatest of all time tags for individual players in team sport matter that much. But again, if we have to delve into it, just the fact that I'm going to bring a little bit of Cristiano Ronaldo in this as well, because fair sport to these two individuals, they have absolutely dominated the world stage for a good time period of 10 to 12 years. They've scored a number of goals at a time when the cameras are on players at all times. It's not just about them playing on the pitch. They are literally in news on the 6 other days that they don't play in a weekday. Club football is something where these two have just exceeded the expectations of the best player. When it comes to the Pelés and the Maradonas, there was one thing that they never had, which was this amount of attention, this amount of game viewing from people all across the globe. And that is something these two players have had. And that is something where they have thrived with their performances week in, week out for a good time period of 10, 12 years, winning so many.
No, but I'll just have one counterpoint over what you say here. I mean, of course, comparing eras is kind of doesn't lead anywhere. But imagine if अगर जो आज जो sports science available है, अगर जो आज जो सारी चीजें available है, if that was made available to Pele or Maradona, we would have been talking about something very different here. So, prediction, quick, ekdam. First Rahul and then Shashank. You missed Argentina-Saudi, the game of the tournament for me. So, first you Rahul and then you Shashank. Who wins? Who lifts the trophy on Sunday night?
I'd say Argentina.
Right. Shashank?
I'm just going to say Argentina because तुमने मेसी के बारे में इतनी सारी discussions की हैं and that's one of the few, I mean उसके game मैंने देखे हैं इस बार. I'm just going to go with Argentina.
Right, and I'll go with France because France really looked determined to spoil Messi's party. And I'm ready to kind of be embarrassed for my prediction on Sunday night. But we'll see how my prediction goes, how Rahul's prediction goes, and of course Shashank's as well. We'll be back next week to जो भी हारेगा वो दूसरे को थोड़ा सा embarrass तो कर ही देगा on pod. So at least वो सुनने के लिए वापस आइएगा. And good luck watching the final. It'll be a great one. Thanks for listening to today's episode. This is Mihir Vasavda and Rahul Pandey along with producer Shashank saying goodbye.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.